So, Traxxas Sledge, new release, super cool. 6S, claimed 70 mile an hour. Basically going for the truggy style basher lineup. So, what do you think?
Well, I think I've seen a lot of heat out there calling it not a Kronos.
Not a Kronos.
All in all, it's based off of the 8 scale truggy. No matter who makes it, it's an 8 scale truggy.
Basically, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, you take a look at the way the diffs are set up and the way the platform's set up. It is more of a truggy style platform than monster truck. Calling it monster truck, I think, is a little bit of a stretch.
What I really do like about this is how they mounted the motor. Most of them they mount into the bulkheads like this. Motor's over here; it's hanging around.
Yep.
They went right down to the chassis, like some of the newer truggies are like that.
Yeah, as you can see in here when you're looking at it a little closer. Well, first we'll take a look at the chassis plate. Pretty low profile. It doesn't have like the Kronos and the Kraton, they've all got like these risers halfway through the chassis. So if you flipped it upside down and crashed it, it would land. There's no protection on this one whatsoever. So if you crash this one upside down, the only thing stopping you is your wheels or your wing. Maybe your wing. This is a big deal. This is their T-bar chassis that they're bragging up. The whole point of this is that the ones that come in the Kraton and stuff, it's got just basically like a long shaft, threaded ends on it, right? And one of the problems was that those would rip out. So by designing this way, they figure it's not going to rip out as easy. Stronger than than a round tube would be.
Yeah, the T is key,
right? And it is actually attached to. It's physically bolted on to, instead of being held on with like a ball end or something like that could be broke on your other styles, other brands. Quite a bit of bracing on the back, I noticed. The front doesn't have as much bracing, but the back has got three struts coming down.
Yeah, the front you have a little bit of you gotta have some kind of flex in there somewhere. Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna start breaking stuff. So a little more flex in the front. It's gonna make it handle better too, having the chassis be able to twist and flex, right?
Yep. So everything, all the nuts and bolts and screws and hardware are recessed for the most part, unless it's got a skid plate. If it's a skid plate or a bumper, those are the ones straight holes going through there. So it's going to end up being recessed into the plastic on top of those.
Yeah, I really like those bumpers they got on there, those little skid plates right there.
Yeah.
It's going to really help save that chassis.
Yeah. So there you can see how it's basically the T-bar is lined in there. Right near the back there where there's a little nub there, you can see that is where, well, that's the back side of where the bolt's going to go through that holds that aluminum piece into the plastic.
It goes right from the front and the back in, right?
Yeah, it goes right from front to rear, which is different than the Kronos. Doesn't have that. The Kronos actually has it. It's a separate bar, and it meets up in the middle in a bulkhead.
There's that big screw for it.
There's a big screw, right?
Bigger, bulkier.
Bigger, bulkier, more better. Now, I got high hopes, but I'm hoping that, because I noticed that all of the mounting points of this seem to be rather low. Yeah. So I'm wondering, if you do flip it on its lid and skid it on its nose, is that going to bend that front end easily or not?
Well, most of the time that's because the body mounts are into that bulkhead.
Right.
So the body mounts are way better. They go right to clip in. It's not really mounted to the bulkheads.
No, this clips in. This is kind of neat. When you take a look at it here, you can kind of see, it just pops in. But here's the biggest thing that I think is going to be a bit of a problem. It appears to me to be like a clip style on the back, where you just kind of reach underneath and push out on the tabs. Now that works awesome on the TRX platform with the Bronco bodies and everything, right? Super easy to click them on and off. But on this, on a hard impact, what's going to stop those from just popping loose on you every single time?
Not much.
I don't think there's going to be very much. It does have the skid bar pads on the top.
And on the sides, there's quite
Yeah.
a few kids on there.
Yeah. So I mean, when you look at it here, you can see at the very back end, you can see where the tabs are that you push in, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's not a big problem. I'm hoping it clicks in and locks fairly decently. But I can tell you from my X Max and my Max that you've good enough hard enough impact, the body flies off. So
Yeah, I think this here is gonna be a little better because it has the internal roll cage. It's gonna stiffen up that body.
yeah,
So that's gonna pop off like a normal one would.
right. And then driveline, this does have an open center diff, and it has the regular diffs on the rear, front and rear. They are oversized compared to the other models. They're larger than the others have been, and they are running CVs for axles, so there's no plastic axles in it, which is great.
No need to upgrade it right from the get go.
No spider gears, center diff, front and rear diff, all the same.
And four gears in there.
4 gears in there, yeah. Now they're saying this is 20% larger and 75% thicker compared to a Slash 4-wheel drive diff. I'm really curious why they didn't compare it to the Max or the X Max, but whatever. Suspension on here, aluminum bodies. Look at the suspension clips on the bottom. You can see that you're going to pop that on there and then you tighten it on. It's actually got a spot on there for a screw to tighten it on so it doesn't pop out so easy. It does, however, appear to be plastic caps on the suspension.
I do see that.
So I don't know. That might be a problem. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
I will know soon. We'll know soon. Yeah. There's the bulkhead again on the front end with the suspension. There's quite a bit of adjustment up there. The arms are quite open. They are different front and rear, but they're a fairly open style web. And then, so that's one of the things when you take a look at this picture. So you look at some of the pictures they've got in there, and that is not an open arm on there anymore.
No.
But if you take a look real hard on that picture, you can see where the mud guards and plates look like they've been screwed in.
Oh, yeah. So that's optional part or what?
I'm going to guess that it's an optional part here. And I'm going to guess that when you take a look at this, you can see the bolt hole. You can see the holes with the mounting hardware for you to put that protective guard plate in. But when you look at the parts list on this one, all of these things come up, all the mud guards, it all comes up as optional parts, not come with it ready to go parts. So a bit of a bummer on that, but at least they have it, and at least they're going to make it because it will help. It's plastic links for non-adjustable. Your shocks, like here's a good shot of the shocks. And as you can see, it's aluminum body, but it's plastic everywhere else. Aluminum body and metal shaft, but plastic everywhere else. I didn't see any real specs on the shaft size. The heart of the beast is basically, it is your standard VXL 6S CSC that they've been making for quite a while.
Is that the same ones in the Max or the X Max?
No, the X Max is an 8S.
Okay.
So this is the same one that would be, I believe, in the Revo 2.0 and all their 6S line, which isn't that big anymore. Well, it's bigger now. They just made it bigger. But the motor is unique to this. It is a 2000 kV brushless, and it is specifically, the part number comes up as only being available for this vehicle.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's not another motor the same as the others. 2275 servo also comes up as only available for the Sledge.
Waterproof action.
Waterproof, as they claim. Metal gears. They rate it at 347 ounces.
Yeah, here's that motor I was talking about, how it really encapsulates that motor and it keeps it from jumping around and really throwing that gear mesh off. Yeah,
it holds the motor in place solid. If you notice, there's also a bolt on the very bottom there. And it also has the mounting points for a fan to be mounted on.
Oh, yeah.
But I noticed that it doesn't come with a fan out of the box. So that's going to be another option for you to buy later.
Well, to be fair, a fan is just going to short out when you put it underwater.
True.
So they're going to make it waterproof. If you want to put a fan on there and drown it, it's up to you.
Although this doesn't really come across to me as the kind of vehicle you're going to be taking into the water. Right?
Yeah, but people will do it.
Yeah. So they've designed this chassis so it will fit easily. It will fit the 6,700 milliamp 4S battery packs that you can run for your X Maxes. And then if you want your 6S power, you run 2 3S battery packs in series. Standard TQI receiver in their waterproof box, like they're known for. All says Traxxas Link enabled and all that stuff. However, you still have to go and buy all of those things. So let's compare this to the ARRMA Kraton and the Kraton and Kronos. Let's start off with the chassis plates.
Look at the Traxxas one. It's quite wide in there. It's quite wide, bulky, less breaky, bendy.
Yep. Yeah, and I notice it's got some recesses in it and some actual molding to the chassis, where the other ones are fairly flat.
And those moldings should add some strength to it as well.
Right. And then what else we got here? Let's take a look at the layout. So your general layout, as you can see with the ARRMA Kraton, it's got the ESC mounted further forward. It does have the tower in the middle, like I talked about. It's kind of a crash tower. It's got the big crossbar going across the middle. And the motor is kind of pointed or directed towards the back, and then it gets quite narrow before you get to the actual rear end. Not a lot of side guard or anything on it, just pretty. There are some side guards right at the very front.
And that's it.
So not a lot of chassis protection on the Kraton. The Kraton and Kronos, it doesn't have an upper truss coming across it stock. It does with the XTR version, but the original Kronos did not.
No.
So they've got 2 versions of their Kronos, the XTR and just the regular. I have one. I've had issues with the steering servo saver and stuff on it, so it broke.
No, I had problems with that.
You broke it. You broke it.
I broke it.
As you can see, the battery compartments are both set up pretty much the same way. It's metal steering links on the front for the Kraton. It's plastic on the Kraton and plastic on the Traxxas. The wing on the Traxxas is longer but narrower.
Looks BA.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Looks the best out of the 3, I gotta say.
So here's your shocks. As you can see, plastic caps and such on the Traxxas, on the Sledge. The ARRMA Kraton is aluminum body all the way around, and it also has little boots on the bottom, which is kind of a nice added feature, I think.
Love it or hate them.
Yeah, love them or hate them, I suppose. One thing I will point out, that both the ARRMA Kraton and the Kraton and Kronos have that the Traxxas Sledge does not. The Kraton and the Kronos both have sway bars. The Sledge does not, from all the imagery I've found so far. Now,
so where do sway bars come in handy? Probably when you're racing.
Well, stability, even when you're bashing.
Bashing, you want the tires to go independently more, don't you?
No, I don't think so.
And people misuse sway bars anyways. They always want to tighten them down and use them as a shock. What is not what a sway bar does.
True. So
if you want stiffer shocks, get some springs.
And this guy. These are the trusses. So got to pardon the images we got going here, because so the ARRMA Kraton image I got is actually from the EXB, because it was the only one where I could find a good clean image where there wasn't a bunch of stuff in the way.
So that's upgraded.
And the Kronos image is actually the upgraded version that comes from the XTR from them. And then you have Traxxas's new Sledge. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that I'm positive Traxxas will come out with a new aluminum reinforcement piece in there. They like to make a lot of aluminum shiny bits, so I'm sure they will.
Well, you got to leave the upgrades for the person to personalize it.
Right, exactly.
I could see this coming with the red shock bodies and the red kit, an orange kit, and a green kit.
It is coming in 4 different colors so far.
But the anodizing is all the same on all four.
Yes, it appears to be.
So keep an eye out for those other anodizing.
Yeah. So we also have for the suspension, the steering on this, they're going towards the traditional C-hub style. And then we are also, as you know, with ARRMA Kraton and the Kronos, which we've experienced many times, we've got the pillow block style. And every time we do the pillow blocks end up sometimes getting a good impact pulling through or breaking or shattering. I don't know how strong those C-hubs are going to be.
I'm a fan of the C-hubs because there's no maintenance with them. The
This is
pillow
true.
ball,
Yep.
you got to make sure that there's no dirt in there. You got to make sure it's not too tight, not too loose.
Which is
shoot them just
crazy
right.
easy to get them way too tight.
Yeah.
Like just like
Just
a
a
millimeter
hair.
too much turn, and just a hair, and it's like, oh man, the steering doesn't want to work.
Doesn't want
You
to
start
steer.
burning out steering servos. You start having all kinds of issues.
So I think a very smart move from Traxxas going this way.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like I said, they're probably going to release an aluminum version of those hubs so that you break your A-arms instead.
Oh yeah, they are.
Battery trays, as you can see, the only ones really got the real variety of choices and options out there is the Corrali, because it is strictly a tray with Velcro. The Kraton is also Velcro, but it does have a nose piece on the front of it, which limits how tall your batteries can stack inside there.
Yeah.
One thing the Kraton has that, well, the Traxxas doesn't need, but the Kraton has, it does have a neat little clip that helps you hold your battery, your balance leads out of the way so they're not flopping all over the place.
That's pretty handy.
Of course, with the Traxxas, you're talking about Traxxas ID connectors, so there are no balance leads floating around. But that's a hard plastic clip in, it clicks down and snaps, right? So if you want to run a different size battery than what's already shown in the picture or whatever, you're going to have to measure it, or you're going to have to fabricate up a strap set or something of the sort, or foam. If it's smaller, then you'll have to put foam in there to stop them from moving around too much. Okay, so the A-arms on the front, as you can see, the Kraton Kronos has a fairly closed-in style lower A-arm. The Traxxas Sledge is showing a closed-in, but as we've seen, it is not. And the Kraton doesn't really have really much. Like there is nowhere really to fill in very much more. Although the Kraton ones have been pretty strong. I mean, the ones that I've run on my fire team have taken a beating. I haven't broke one yet.
Just watch.
Just
Next
watch.
time out.
Yeah. When I put these two head to head, we'll break one. Or both.
Oh yeah.
Or all of
three.
Right? So there, as you can see, these are the rear arms. So they're fairly open on the ARRMA Kraton, and not really a lot of choices there when it comes to protection or added protection. And you can see there's two lower mounts options on the bottom. Yep. On the Traxxas Sledge, in the image here, it's showing it with a mud guard, which, like I said, is an option part according to the parts list. We'll know for sure when I get mine in my hot hands here in a couple days. And then, as you can see, there's two very slight adjustments on the back for the Traxxas. And then on the Kraton Kronos, it also has an option. You can throw a mud guard on the front to just kind of protect the linkage. You can see where the bolts are there.
Yeah, I can see them there.
Yeah, and your adjustment is pretty much the same thing as it is with the Kraton.
But I do like this on the Kronos has the adjustable top link on the rear.
Yeah, that's nice. There's not a solid plastic piece. So then we get into steering servos. So steering servos are one of those things that they're either good and they last, but nobody ever seems to put the stock servo back in.
Never. That's the first thing to upgrade.
Right?
Wow. New servo. You should, when you buy that thing, buy yourself a servo. Do yourself a favor.
Traxxas is claiming 25 kg, 347 ounce inches of torque with this servo, the 2275, which appears to be pretty much unique and made for this truck, for this release. However, they do have a rating on their website of 486 inches of torque at 7.4 volts. One problem with that. Traxxas ESCs don't usually upgrade the voltage, so you'll have to put in a BEC to do that, because you cannot run the power through the receiver box and the receiver, because Traxxas receivers do not like being powered more than 6 volts.
Oh, really?
At all. So you've got your ARRMA Kraton, which is running a 19 kg, 265 inch steering servo. It seems to do the job. It's the same one that's in my fire team. Seems to be okay. The Kraton and Kronos claims to be a 20 kg, 278 inch torque rating for their Metal Gear waterproof servo. They're all Metal Gears. So really, it's a pretty high rating. I would love to put these two servos side by side and actually do a test on it and see if it actually does come out with that, which I probably will do at some point.
Yeah, the other problem with that is it all comes down to that servo saver that's built into the rig.
Yeah.
It needs to be able to hold. How much does that hold?
Yeah, that's exactly. And if your servo saver is, it saves your servo because it's super soft and spongy, but that ruins your steering and how the effect is on your steering. So who cares what the rating is for torque on your, if it's getting lost in your steering servo, in your servo saver.
You lose it all in the servo saver and you got nothing.
Right? So the ARRMA Kraton comes with the Spectrum Smart technology. It's got 150 amp ESC. Traxxas is running the VXL 6S with no sufficient power. Sufficient, like you like to say.
Sufficient.
And Corrali is running what is it called? The Curon? It's the Torox. 185A. So it's 185 amp, they claim. Now it's the same one that's in the Python, and I've got one in my Kronos. They do seem to put out a fair amount of jam, so I'm going to believe their ratings on that. I like them; they work good. Then we got ARRMA with a 2050 kV Spectrum motor. Traxxas with a new motor that they've released, 2000 kV, and the Kraton and Kronos, which is now another 2050 kV. Now, it does appear to me that the bullet ends on the Traxxas one are larger.
Yeah, look more beefy.
I think they're more beefy. I think I'd have to measure it and go look back at it to make sure. But it's either 5.5 or 6 mil for the ARRMA and the Kronos, and I believe this Traxxas Sledge is a 7 mil. If I read it right, I could be wrong.
You've been fooled once or twice.
I've been fooled once or twice.
Tires. This is where it's key.
Yeah, and so the Traxxas just released that Sledgehammer tire for the X-Max and all the other scales. They basically put a Sledgehammer tire on everything. And then you can't have a truck called the Sledge and not have Sledgehammer tires. So that's what it's running. It's running the new Traxxas Sledgehammer tires. ARRMA's running their D-boots or whatever they call them, and I can't remember what the name of the Corrali ones are. The Corrali ones are a lot more blocky, and the Traxxas Sledge wheels and the ARRMA Kraton ones are a lot more chunky. The rims look fairly solid.
Look pretty similar design, star pattern.
They're not that open spoke with the weak rim part like a lot of them were doing for a while there. So, and then we have our radios. He grunts and cringes because he's a lefty. He's one of those left-handed freaks.
Let's start with the ARRMA one.
Okay.
You have a great name, but then they take it and they put it down a notch. And then you get the special radio just for RTRs.
For price point. Strictly for price point, right?
Yes.
However,
that looks like something you picked up from the dollar store.
Yes.
And when you put it in your hand, it feels like a dollar store radio.
It is very, very light feeling. You were right.
It has Traxxas, which has, I hate to say it, like it's fairly decent to hold in your hand.
Don't say it. Oh, God, you said it.
I did say it.
Okay, you're right. Traxxas does have a better ergonomic feel to it for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that disappoints me on a regular basis with Traxxas, which is, I guess, not that big of a deal because The ARRMA doesn't even offer it as a possibility, and neither does the Corrali. But their TSM and their link. Now it says on the box that it's enabled. No, it's not enabled. You have to go buy the Wi-Fi module for it to be enabled. It is capable of it, and it is ready for it, but everything that I've read so far points that it is not enabled right out of the box. So,
however, you
nice
take that
words.
part, you put that dealie in there, and you can tune that controller so well. You do your endpoints properly.
Yep.
Send out your servo properly. There's a lot of things you can do with it with that link. And the other two, that's not even.
Well, you can do the endpoints and all that stuff with the TQI. You can still do it without that link. It's just not any fun to do. Blinking lights and flashing things, and if you're epileptic at all, you're probably going to have a seizure before you're done.
But the option's there for it, though. Hey? So you get that part, you get the TQI thing, and throw it in there.
Yeah.
On your phone, you can tune it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the ARRMA Kraton, not even an option. The Kraton Kronos, not even an option. No.
Can you even do your endpoints on those?
You can do your endpoints on. Well, you can do your dual rate. You can't really do endpoints so much.
So you have one tire turning more, then turning more left, more right, or whatever.
Right.
You can't tune that out.
The Kraton, at least with the Kraton, you could turn around and you could take that speed controller. Duh. You can take that receiver and you can link it up to a better transmitter. The Corrali, I haven't really seen any other from their line of transmitters. That's kind of their transmitter. They don't have options in their transmitter line, right? So, yeah. And then price point wise, a sledgehammer. I keep wanting to call it sledgehammer. The Sledge comes in at $799.99, and the Kraton comes in at $679.99. And the Kronos, now it's a little bit tough because they've got all these new release ones they've come out with. So the one that I can find right now that is available for sale right now, not a new release that isn't hit show, blah, 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 is $479.99. Now I believe the XTR is like $579. I think it is up there because it's got more stuff done to it, but I can't find any actual pricing in US dollars. I can find it in euros and pounds and all these others, and I'm too damn lazy to convert that stuff. So figure it out for yourselves. I will tell you right now, the Corrali Kronos is the cheapest of the three. Straight up, doesn't matter which way you calculate it, where you find the part or where you find the prices, it is the cheapest of the three. What do you think of it?
Well, I think they definitely came through in a totally different way than they have in the past. Like, they haven't had a solid chassis like that in anything else. Mind you, they did have like some kind of version of aluminum chassis with the Revo, with the T-Max, E-Max, that kind of thing, but nothing like this. This is the closest thing they have to a real race-inspired chassis.
Right.
Like, I could see this converting people from bashing and kind of coming into the racing world with it.
Into the truggy world.
Yeah, because truggy is a class that they run at all major events. And although that this one here might not be tunable enough, it'll still get you in the door. Like, you show up at your local track, you want to try it out, because the track's pretty sweet when you got those jumps set up.
It may not be tunable right now out of the box, right? But I can guarantee you, just like every other manufacturer, there's going to be a pile of manufacturing. Like a lot of people are going to make tunability parts and upgrade parts that'll let you tune it. Like the solid axles or the solid links, the solid plastic links, I can guarantee you they've already got adjustable ones in the pipe somewhere.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I have not taken the time to go through the entire parts list that comes if you go into the Traxxas website and take a look. I haven't taken the time to go down that parts list and see what other option parts are showing on there. I do know when I was talking to the suppliers, there are at least 180 parts unique to this chassis. Like there's 180 new part numbers unique to this chassis. So at least,
Yeah,
I'm not going to count them all because
I did see like on the bulkheads on the shock towers, it
right,
has a upper roll center adjustability. Had like the 4 holes in there, so you can go inside or outside, up and down.
right,
And also you could get a different length arm on there as well
yes.
on the hub. So it had adjustability there, which was pretty cool to see. I I wasn't expecting to see anything tunable on that chassis at all. So there is so much potential there.
There's a pile of potential, and I think I think anybody who buys one of these is gonna be. I don't know, man. I got a funny feeling that there might be some ARRMA fanboys that might get converted with this guy. I'm not a particular fanboy of any particular brand because I run them all. But I took the Fire Team out, and I'm very impressed with it. I'm also very impressed with the Max. I am not so impressed with the X Max because I find that every time I take it out, something big breaks every time. So
Just
I
hate
think
on that X Max, eh? Just hate
I'm
it.
not easy on it. It's a big truck. It's a big truck. It's a heavy truck, and usually when I almost hit myself with it, I scream and pee a little down my leg. So um, I think you guys are going to see a lot of cool things out of this chassis. I think upgrades and stuff are going to be wild. I think it's going to be a tough. I think it's going to be might be a new favorite basher for a lot of people.
I think so. It's going to have that low center of gravity. It's not going to roll over so easy. It should be fairly stable with that lower center of gravity as well.
Yep.
I know hundreds of millions of people won't even look at it, but playing around with adjustability on that chassis will make it handle differently.
Yeah.
Shock positions. A lot of people don't play around with that. I know.
Sway bars.
Yeah,
There are mounts. There are mounts on the, like if you take a look at the imagery and the photos, there are mounting points for sway bars. So I can guarantee that's going to be out there soon too.
Well, it's just like all their Traxxas cars, they don't come with sway bars, but they have the option later on.
Yep. So, anyways, that is the new Traxxas Sledge.